What's going on, guys? Jack Kellogg here. October 2020 is in the books. $126,758 in profits. Definitely one of my top performing months of my trading career so far. Phenomenal risk to reward ratio, average win nearly 2,200, average loss 450, making 4x my average loser on average with a near 70% win rate. So very, very solid stats. The key was to focus on opportunity that made sense to me and not drift my focus elsewhere. There's a lot of noise with some NASDAQs like JKS, big runner that I avoided a lot of the time instead of trying to just keep nailing the top because it was up too much. And I was just focusing on my OTCs, NWBL, LKNCY, and these really took the majority of my month's focus and pretty much made my entire month on these tickers, where LKNCY offered opportunity for the first 2 weeks, and then NWBO offered opportunity for the next few weeks. And the key was that I saw what was happening and how these stocks were forming. And I knew that they had potential to be multi-day runners. So I had the right approach on how to trade them. So that, I think, was the key for me this month. It's just ignoring a lot of the other crap that I can't find phenomenal risk to reward on and I'm not as familiar with. Then the good old OTCs with volume that are following that 7-step framework where they go on these supernova runs on the multi-day extension. Very, very familiar for me. So here in September is my first 2 red weeks of the year. So it was key on how I was going to bounce back. And the first couple days coming into the month, I just wanted to make a couple $100. There wasn't too many setups. Just wanted to make a couple $100, just see green, start off the month up a few $100. It's literally all I wanted. And then the 5th, I made my first 4-figure gain in pretty much this is a lot of days here. 2 weeks and some change. So, my last 4-figure day was the 17th of September. And now we're on the 5th of October. So as you can see here, my losses were big and my wins were just small. So I need to get back into the trading where my losses are small, my wins are big. Like they are here, I'm losing 168, but I'm making 8K. Instead of here, I'm losing 6,400 and only making 168. So obviously my trading's flawed, but I went into much more detail on September. If you guys want to watch that video, it will be the previous video before this one on the September recap. So to get into October, this week, LKNCY started, and I'll get into the chart after I get through all the monthly stats in the Excel. But LKNCY started, and I started longing it and went on a nice little run, and I was able to capitalize on about 10K on the long side. This is pretty much all LK. And then big day came, and I was prepared because I had been padding. I'd been getting familiar with the stock. Big day came, my A+ pattern, huge volume, decided to size into it and traded it pretty spot on. Nailed pretty much every portion of the move except for not holding long enough on the reshort. I'll get into the chart in a little bit as I noted, but that gave me a lot of momentum because now pretty much up 50K in the week and there's still 3 weeks to go. So my goal was just to keep consistency, size up when the opportunity is there, and if it's not there, just focus on consistency. So there's a few slow days here, but there's still opportunity. NWBO started this week and LK was kind of fading off, and eventually NWBO gave a great long opportunity and I nailed it towards the end of the week here, and then NWBO started and I nailed it short this day. And this is me just padding and letting the big trades, really add up, and was able to keep this consistency just on these couple stocks here. And then the momentum kind of died down and started burning out. And I had my first red day of the month on the 30th. was really burnt out from the month, and I knew there wasn't too much opportunity. So I kind of stepped away here the 30th, and I started doing my recap of the month, just reviewing my trades and entering in all the data and stuff. So biggest profit, 10x my biggest loser, just how I want it. I want to be making 10x my biggest loser. Whereas this, as you guys can see, my losers are bigger, so this is great when my winners are big and my losses are small, with a great win percent too. So as you can see, my average percent gains, it doesn't really matter. It matters what the dollar gain is, in my opinion, because I trade around a core a lot of the time. So I'm always in a small piece, and I'm adding size when I think it's about to do something. I can always take off and reevaluate. So the percent gain is never what I strive for. It's always about that risk to reward, focusing on how much I can make and as least risk as possible, and just really let the small gains and then eventually the huge winner add up. So to get into my monthly review here, OTC 80% of the time, as you can see here on the left side, all OTC. Like I'm saying, LK, NCY, and NWBO take up the majority of my first, almost 10 tickers, or 10 biggest gains. So this is just a really large chunk of my month. And then, like I said, a few more trades here, BRTXQ, little OTC breakout, HALB, another OTC runner, VRYYF, OTC runners, but not as good as LK and NWBO. More LK and NWBO. And then the only real NASDAQ that I was watching this month for a bigger trade was WWR, but I ended up just botching that trade, and it was kind of tough anyway. So just for like $1,600 there, and the rest just really small gains, and then my losses just super small. Just a handful of decent losses, and the rest are just like really small paper cuts. So just really avoiding those big losses and maximizing on the setups. Best long month ever. And why was it my best long month ever with about 70,000 going long? Because I messed up huge going long last month, lost 18 grand, and that really propelled me to get better at going long this month, because through the most pain, through the most adversity, that's when you're going to grow the most. So I did take that big loss last month, but that was one of the best things that could happen to me, because now I came back with my new best month ever, best longing month ever after my biggest longing loss, new biggest long gains on NWBO, and just really happy with how I came back. My profit factor with a 9.91, almost a 10, lost about 15K and made 147.5. So very, very good. Keeping my losses super, super small. Like my gross loss is smaller than my biggest loss last month, just to put that in perspective. And I was able to make about 150K. So super happy. Now we can dive into some charts if you guys want. A little bit of chart action. We got NWBO here. I'm going to go over that second. I'll start with LK and NCY. So LK was a NASDAQ stock, listed on the stock exchange, and basically they cooked the books, gapped down big, and then went into OTC land this day. So it started a nice little run. Got some nice trades back on it back here. And then it's actually funny because we had Tim Gertani on Twist, which is This Week in Steady Trade. It's a podcast hosted by me, Matt Monaco, and Kyle Williams. So if you guys want to check that out, I'll leave a link in the description. And we were talking about how this potentially could run into the resistance from when it was a NASDAQ stock. And if we would look at that for a potential play back here. And the stock did set a beautiful double top here, and then broke out and ran right into that resistance that we were talking about here, where it's like 500 million shares between these 2 days, and topped right out there and had a huge crack all the way off of it. So very predictable for us day traders. It's almost like Gertani saw this coming from very very far out, a bunch of months back, back here at the start of the month. So that was really cool to see, and I was super prepared, and I knew it was an A plus setup. So to get into the intraday here, 30 days, 1 minute. So it just started trending up. Beautiful price action. We're in morning spike and go sideways. Another day sideways, and then this day just grinds up into a parabolic, often the top on a lot of these OTCs. Goes parabolic into the close, very similar to what CYDY did the day before it dumped as well. And then had a gap up, fail into the resistance, crash down, basically just got short in this range here, and had a huge panic down to 450. I covered a little bit too early. I covered some around 5, 480s, even a little above 5, I think. And then I bought the dip from 460 to around 5, and then it bottomed here, and I didn't trade it really at all. I think I rebought some shares here, but I was out into this bounce again. And then I left it alone here. Got a really, really good entry on the bounce short because last time it had bounced around to the red to green level, so I was patient this time. Didn't get short too early. Got short with the 565 average, 560 average. Faded off, but since my average was so good, I was taking profits, some in the 540s, and took out the rest down here in the 520s. And like I said, I missed this fade here, which was a little frustrating because this is another 50 cents. But it doesn't matter. The next day, got some more short, and this was like another 5K trade. But this, all in all, this day, I think I made about 35,000 on LK, which is like a fourth of my month right there, just in one trade. And like I said, just consistently padding with these smaller trades on these days, and just trying to take it for all that it's worth, and then stop trading it when it gets a liquid like it is now. Like there's not much range now, very unpredictable. Not much range at all the last 2 days. But this is where, I'll take advantage of this nice liquidity. Traded 877K shares here at the bottom. Very nice liquidity. Very happy with this runner and how I traded it. Hopefully there's a lot more like this. Another good one this month was NWBO. Very CYDY like, where has this bullish daily, kind of like bullish flag on the daily chart with consistent volume. As you can see down here, consistent volume, CYDY. Did the same thing where had its original run and then based nicely here on consistent volume. And then went supernova, so NWBO reminded me of that. And it was just a smaller time frame. It didn't consolidate as long as CYDY. So I wasn't expecting as big of a move, but we still got from 80 cents to 250, which was great. Another phenomenal liquidity here, 20 million shares a day basically. And then down here it traded 42 million shares. So I'm working towards that, sizing up for what the liquidity offers on, my A plus setups, and LK and NWBO are my A plus setups. So just working towards getting better every single day. Now to get into the intraday here. Oops. $20 days should be good. 1 minute. Same kind of thing as LK, where we walk up nicely, grinds up, speeds up this day. And then we got that same kind of price action where it takes out the lows like LK. Same kind of price action, and then fails to bounce and gets this huge panic going. A little bit choppier than LK, where it took some time before the panic got going. Very big market cap. It was worth over 2 billion market cap up when it was in the twos. So the stock did end up bottoming out here, and I played it long after shorting it, and then reshorted the bounce and covered back into these dips. So the same kind of thing as LK. my A plus setup the first red day, and I'm just looking to capitalize as much as I can on it. And I think this day I made 18K or something like that. And that plus the 35K on LK, and there is a majority of my month, and then it's just wallet padding on the smaller days. I can still get a feel for it on these days. It's still in play, honestly, in my opinion, until it starts to get a liquid and have no range. So Friday, very liquid, not much range, and until that liquidity and that range comes back, it's just going to be a no play. Now we're going to start looking for daily charts that are setting up like this and move on to the next supernovas and just keep taking advantage of when that liquidity and when those familiar patterns are there. And that's what it's all about, guys. Uh, this is a shorter video, but got some things to do today, so just banged it out really quick. Like I said, super, super happy with this month. 4.8 average winning trade to my average loser. So phenomenal risk to reward, phenomenal win percent. Super happy month to remember. A lot of good lessons coming off this ugly couple weeks into one of my best trading months ever. So I will catch you guys back here at the end of November. Couple months left. Let's close out the year strong and have a good rest of your weekend.